Oh, and what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. If you can tell, we are super tired because that conference semifinals took everything out of us. Every single game was insane, and we are going to cover all of the best moments from it. And then, of course, with the semifinals wrapped up, conference finals are right around the corner. We're going to give our preview and predictions ahead of those two games. I'm Andrew, that's Connor. Here's your semifinal recap, guys. How we doing?
That might have been I feel like you might have been exaggerating a little bit with the every game was insane, but
No, every game was insane, just in different ways.
okay.
Now I know you struggle to wrap your mind around that because, your issue is you don't know ball and you don't really understand, what's going on. I get that. It's okay. But I'm
You know what I
here.
do know? I know scarves.
You are do you have an appointment here or something? Because you're just running through it. You were trying to get us going like let's
No,
go, let's go,
I
let's
saw the
go.
opportunity for a transition and I went for it. I'm not giving you time to just waffle on about how much you watch the game and know ball and oh, I have a B license.
I don't have it yet. Let's be calm about that. Let's not say anything crazy. What are you rocking today?
All right, well, I didn't want to go with the Vancouver scarf again. I didn't want to go with the Miami scarf. So, unfortunately for you, that left one option, and that is going to be the New York City scarf.
What a
One
nightmare of a
city,
game
one
that
club. How
was.
does that make you feel?
What a nightmare of a game that was. And also not true. Brooklyn FC 2026, baby. Um, yeah, I
That'll be
was
my new
look.
team.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. You should pick that up. I'll take Lexington, and we'll get hyped for the USL Championship battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at my wall. I'm like, do I want to go Miami? No. Do I want to go back to Vancouver? Not Vancouver. Do I want to go with San Diego or Minnesota? No. I'm definitely not touching New York City. That's out. So it left me between two choices. It was Vancouver, the Whitecaps, or the Vancouver 86ers, baby. Hook it to my veins, Vancouver 86ers. We're pulling it because their game was the most attended game in modern MLS era, I guess, for lack of a better term. I saw this stat, but their last really well attended game was an 86ers game. So it's
What counts as
relevant.
well attended?
Yeah, yeah. It's relevant if you know ball. So that's why I get it, and you probably don't. That's right. You thought you were getting me off of that. No shot. No shot.
So there you go. It's
Oh,
just, you got it in. Now you just need the Red Bull reference, and
yeah.
we can wrap
Well,
up the
well, I
episode
I
right then
think
and there.
it's also time we go Euro snob because my boy's up here. Los Toffees down 10 men for 77 minutes of their game against Manchester United, pulling out a win. That's what
Yeah.
it's all
Had the
about,
10
baby.
men after they fought
They
themselves.
fought themselves. Well, and here's the thing, right? They tried to nerf themselves. They were so good. They're like, we need to give these bottom half teams a chance. So let's just get sent off real early and give them a chance. And even then, we couldn't lose. So, it's just one of those things. But Euro snob reference done. That means you are no longer allowed to make any. So that's good. We've
Damn.
got that done. We've limited you. Let's go up north and chat Vancouver versus LAFC because this may have been one of the most miraculous results of all time. And we're going to talk about why in just a second. I'll break it down for you. It was a cagey start to the match. Nothing really going on. Couple of saves, couple of chances. But in the 39th and then 45th minutes, Vancouver hit a misery compiler. Anybody gets a Spencer FC reference? Good pickup there. They get a 2-goal lead heading into the break, and you're thinking Buwanga hasn't touched the ball, Son hasn't touched the ball. They've got Brian White back in the starting lineup. They've got Tristan Blackman back in the starting lineup. Two names you didn't think you were going to see. Thomas Muller was looking really good, even though he didn't get on the score sheet in that first half. You think Vancouver's going to run away into the conference finals. And then Son Heung-min steps up and changes the narrative. After a few bites at the cherry, yeah, we're bringing that one back too. We're going all the references today. After a few bites at the cherry, he forced a goal over the line in the 60th minute to cut the lead in half, and LAFC would push and push and push to continue their efforts to tie the game up, and they would be denied until second half stoppage time. LAFC driving down the field 1v1 with a Tristan Blackman already on a yellow card. Son goes 1v1. Blackman fouls him. Referee very quick to go to the pocket for his second yellow. I don't know if it was a yellow. You can share in the comments if you thought so. But at the end of the day, he was sent off. And to be fair, he didn't look that good for the last 20 minutes anyway. Definitely coming off of the injury, you could tell that. But right on the edge of the box, he concedes the foul, sees his second yellow. They're down to 10 men. Then big names stepped up in big moments. Son Heung-min tucks away his free kick perfectly in the 95th minute to level the game and send it into extra time, where things got even crazier. Because to start, Vancouver center back Bilal Halbouni tore his ACL with 9 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Vancouver was out of subs, so they were forced to defend LAFC with 9 players versus 11 for 12 total minutes. They were, I mean, again, you're looking at this like, okay, it's over. Brian White had come out of the game. Thomas Muller had come out of the game at this point. I mean, you're thinking it's over at this point. And shot after shot, they turned it away until the very last play of the game. David Martinez driving down the right side, hits a cross that beats Takayoka near post, hits the crossbar, comes out, lands at the feet of Denny Bouanga. He takes a touch, fires a shot. It hits the post. All of the defenders slide to try and block it. He receives it again. It's a wide open goal, and he rings it off the crossbar. Crossbar, post, crossbar within 3 different shots. Something EAFC couldn't even script. Unbelievable. Could not believe it. After that ball goes out, game ends. They're going to penalties. Son misses his first as he cramped on his kick. You could see him hold his hamstring after the shot goes on. And then Marky Delgado sent his miles over the bar, meaning that Vancouver defied all the odds to get to the conference finals. Was this the best game you've ever seen, Connor Wright?
Listen, it was a great game. I don't know if I would go as far as to say best I've ever seen. I'd have to put some thought into that one, but was definitely a really great game. I mean, come on, 95th minute free kick goal to send it to extra time. That's crazy. That's like literally storybook stuff. LAFC loves a good playoff game. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like a lot of the recent like crazy games in the playoffs, I feel like have involved LAFC. So they're certainly really exciting to watch. But man, some huge credit to Vancouver for what they were able to accomplish in the situation that they were put in towards the end of that game. Because LAFC had all the momentum in the second half. Obviously makes sense, right? Like Vancouver just needs one game to go move on. You're up 2-0, right? You don't need to be super attacking and expose yourself. And then they're down to 9 going into the extra time. So at that point, it's literally all LAFC completely for 30 minutes, just all LAFC. And somehow they held on. And then not only did they hold on, they then went to penalties and were still able to pull it out. It's honestly, it was incredible. Vancouver fully deserves to move on in this one. I know we both backed LAFC, but we did, we pointed out that this was probably going to be the toughest game
Yeah.
left in the playoffs. And I don't think either of us, as much as we were saying that we felt LAFC was a favorite to win the entire playoffs, I think both of us recognized that Vancouver, if not number 2, was certainly like a top 3 favorite as well. So not hugely surprising to see them move on. They're a very talented team. They've had a great season. And they certainly deserve to have moved on.
Yeah. Speaking best game of all time, remember like 6 days ago, we were like, oh, that Minnesota comeback versus Seattle, best game of the playoffs, never going to be topped. And now Vancouver wakes up, is like, hold my beer, eh? Yeah, that it's a
Okay, well
Canadian. It's a
now
Canadian
you're
reference.
canceled.
It's a Canadian reference. Get it? We talked about how we wish this was going to be the conference final, right? Because we knew what it was going to bring, and it delivered. Nothing, and I mean, we said this last week, and who knows if this is going to stand true, but I don't think anything is going to live up to this game for the rest of the playoffs. I mean,
Don't say that. You have no idea.
well,
You have
that's why I just said we said this last week too, but here we are again, right? I didn't have a single dog in this fight, right? I couldn't care less. But I was on the edge of my seat with my heart racing and like jumping at every moment at 1 in the morning Eastern time. I mean, it obviously went in, it's Western Coast and went into extra time and penalties, but just losing it over the end of this match. And that's what these playoffs do, right? And I think that when we talk about is it the best game of all time, you mentioned the LAFC playoff games. It's probably a step below LAFC's MLS Cup because of what it,
Oh, for sure. That's arguably the greatest MLS game of all time.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You know, if this was a MLS Cup final, then we have the conversation like, is it better? I still don't think it quite eclipses that, but
Mhm.
it's in that same vein, right? Like last minute equalizers, heroic defending, end of the game, like just those sorts of vibes, those sorts of moments where you're like, I can't believe what like this is happening right now. And I couldn't imagine being an LAFC fan watching it hit the post and the post and the post and then losing in penalties. Oh wait, yes I can. Red Bull have done that like twice. So there you go. There's your Red Bull reference for the day. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I know you needed it. I wanted to chat really quick before we moved on about Steve Cherundolo because his time at LAFC is done. He moves on now that the season is over. What are your thoughts on his time at LAFC as he leaves for good? I know we've kind of hinted on this, but I want to, now that it's over and done, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think we previously talked about this, and we I think both of us kind of landed on that. Like he needed to win something this year because he was getting too many situations where he'd get close to trophies, but he couldn't take that final step to get there. And boy, did this season not help that allegation because once again, as much as you can look at the stats and say, okay, LAFC dominated, granted, a lot of that is probably extra time when they're up two players. Again, you would what a significant amount of time, at least 8 minutes of being up two players, and you couldn't get it done. I mean, you had a full 30 up a man, and you couldn't get it done. So I mean, I think, credit to Sharundula for being able to keep LAFC consistently playing well. But when it comes to the clutch moments, he just could not get it done for them. And I think they're at a point now where, it kind of works out for LAFC as well, where now you can go and find someone who could take you that next step. Find the guy that's going to pull it out for you and get results in these playoffs, these tournaments, these knockouts, any of that stuff. So I think LAFC is still built for success in the future years, but I think for Sharundolo's legacy, it's definitely after a game like this, it's gonna take probably gonna take a hit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I tweeted this out, and a lot of people kind of, you know, listen, I'm kind of a social media star. I get like 7 likes a tweet. It's not a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal. But what I basically summed it up was that this game I think sums up Steve Cherundolo's tenure at LAFC, right? Star power, tons of quality all over the pitch. He's used that quality to gain what most clubs would consider a successful campaign, right? Top finish in the league, deep runs in all these cups and what have you, but when it comes down to the big moments, they can't get it across the line, right? You look at the game that we just watched, you had 9 men for 12 to 15 minutes, I think was roughly I think it was 12 minutes total. And you couldn't break him down, you couldn't score, you couldn't find that crucial last step to get it over the line, right? And that's been his career in LAFC is outside of that 2022 MLS Cup, 2022, 2021,
I
21.
think 22.
No, it is 22, you're right. Outside of that, regardless, outside of that MLS Cup, his only MLS Cup, every time he's gotten to a final, a quarterfinal, a semifinal, you find a way to fall short when it gets tough. And that to me is what, we're gonna go on, right? Sometimes it's just being unlucky, right? Hitting the post 3 times in the last phase of the game, that's unlucky, man, right? Other games it comes down to his poor decision making, right? And his poor substitute pattern and what have you. But any way you combine it, it just felt like it wasn't enough for LAFC to get across the line. Now I've seen some people out there saying that he's been a disaster from the start for LAFC and he's been terrible and all this other nonsense. Not true, right? He's been very good to get them where they are and to make sure that he leaves them with a positive path forward, right? But to say that his time was an abject failure is the elite not knowing ball comment of the week.
No, I mean he had them competitive constantly
Hmm.
while he was in charge. You know, like as two people whose teams didn't even make the playoffs this year, right? Like I would be ecstatic to be constantly competitive in all competitions. You know, I feel like he was constantly, you know, in and around winning trophies in different competitions that LAFC was participating in, which is an ever-growing list of competitions. And I think, you know, some credit has to be given for that. But I think his legacy is gonna be known as the like the way I would describe it is like the almost coach. You know, he was almost there a lot of the times. I mean, he was able to win a few things with them, but there were so many other times where like if he was able to get it done a little bit more in these clutch moments, we'd be talking about him as probably a better legacy than Bob Bradley with LAFC.
Just want to make
I
sure
mean,
that
he
we.
may have that already, to be honest with you, but
Yeah, and that's
I
something
don't
that.
think it would be a question.
Yeah, we could definitely dive into the logistics around that, but I do want to just clarify that you said two teams who didn't make the playoffs. It's one team who didn't make the playoffs in Atlanta United, and one team that had the script stacked against them to end their
Agreed.
miraculous storybook run, right? Of 16
Uh-huh,
straight
uh-huh.
playoffs. It's yeah,
But thank you for clarifying.
just wanted to make sure that people are aware, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As
No,
let's go ahead
it's good.
and
It's good.
yeah, let's go ahead and move back over then to the East because we could talk about that for, I mean, we should probably make a whole episode on how MLS is now against the Red Bull, but we won't do that for now. We will instead talk about FCC versus Miami, head over to Ohio and my goodness. I don't know if you guys are video game players, but if you play video games, you know that there's always a section where you can enter a cheat code, right? Make the game easier for you. Inter Miami entered MESSI, and their cheat code came to life. Lionel Messi is not real. I refuse to believe it. I think I saw the stat that in the playoffs, they have 24 goals, or like in their last 7 games, they have 24 goals. He has 22 goal contributions of those 24 goals. It is not real. It's not real. I refuse to believe it. He's already passed Carlos Ruiz's 2002 Wonder Playoffs. Remember, we did a whole history episode on Carlos Ruiz's like never going to be broken record of goal contributions in a playoff, and he's done it in the first 2 rounds. Now I know that they had 3 games in the first round that actually, back then they had best of threes too, didn't they?
I can't remember. They've
I
changed the
can't remember
format so
either,
many
but yeah,
times.
he had I mean less teams. I'm sure there were, I'm sure the games work out relatively close, but I mean he's going to blow this out the water. And this is ridiculous that he's done this. They won 4-0 Miami against an FCC side that was just they weren't good, man. They were at home and they weren't good. And the what I'll say is that they underperformed, Messi overperformed, and there's a lot that we can talk about in terms of why, but I want to get your thoughts first.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, until a team figures out how to deal with Messi, I don't see how any team is stopping Miami from winning this cup. You know, we had talked last week about how LAFC was our favorites for this. I think we are overlooking the fact that Messi is playing at his peak MLS form right now, and that genuinely no team is going to be able to stop him. And he's going to make every other person around him on the field better, which is just infinitely even better for Miami, right? Like you're out there on the field, you have the utmost confidence that you're going to be able to tear teams apart, be successful, score goals because you have the greatest player of all time on the field with you. Like I can't see how anybody's stopping Miami. Like Mascherano's got the easiest job in the world right now, right? Like just Messi, 10 other guys literally can pull people from out of the stands and just be like, all right, just go have fun. Just go run around, score goals, do your thing. That's all you need to do. Like that's all you need to tell him to do right now. The way that Messi's playing, it's unreal. I don't know of any team that's stopping him at this moment. The one thing I did want to point out in regards to Cincy versus Miami in this game was the shot map that I was looking at. Outside of 4 shots, every single shot from Cincy came from outside of the box. You're not gonna beat Miami or Messi in this form if you're trying to score every goal from outside of the box. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, maybe that's a credit to Miami and stopping them from being able to work the ball into the box. But if you're going to get more out of your attack, you simply have to get more opportunities in the box. I mean, all four of Miami's goals came from within the box, and most of their shots were inside the box. I mean, I
Well,
think, yeah,
I
yeah,
was,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say if you looked at the way that their shots were too from outside of the box, they never got off the ground, right? They rolled into Rios Novos's hands, and they got blocked, halfway across the way. Like they weren't quality efforts from outside either, you know?
Yeah, if that was the way that they were planning on beating Miami, then I think that's a misstep from Pat Noonan. But I mean, it kind of summarized. I felt like it summarized the game well. The fact that Miami just they couldn't even get quality shots off. They couldn't get shots off, period, in the box. Meanwhile, Miami had like 10 plus shots from within there. So I felt it
Well,
really like summarized the difference between the two, the way that the two were playing
sure.
in that game.
Sure. I do want to disagree with one thing that you mentioned, and it was that you can put anybody on the field with Messi and it he can do whatever he wants. Probably true, but one of the things that I think unlocked this game was it's a huge credit to Javier Mascherano, and it's that I didn't think he would have the guts to bench Luis Suarez on his return from suspension, right? When you watch them against Nashville, in the first two games, they looked, I mean, they the first game, fine, whatever, they were able to go to it, but they lost away at Nashville because Luis Suarez was being pocketed by the defense, had no pace in behind. They couldn't get anything going in behind, and everything kept coming back down their throat because they couldn't get in behind. Mascherano then says, screw it. Messi false nine, two super young, super quick wingers in Silvetti and Allende around him, and we're just going to let him fall into pockets. We're going to find his feet, and he's going to play him in behind, play him in behind, and play him in behind. And because of that pace and because of that quality getting in behind, they were able to be much, much more successful than you would have imagined, right? It's a brilliant coaching move, right? And I don't, maybe a hot take, probably not. I don't think you see Luis Suarez start another game in Miami, maybe ever again. I think this is his last year. I think it should be his last year. I don't think you see him start for in Miami ever again because that team without Luis Suarez looks damn near unbeatable. I
Yeah,
mean,
they look
it,
deadly.
it was ridiculous. And we talked about their shape too, right? The three in the back, if they don't get it right and they give up in bad areas, they're going to get countered quickly. They're going to get countered quickly. And what happened? They got countered quickly a lot of the time, right? But I'm really as much as I'm impressed and I want to say happy because I'm never happy when Miami does anything good, but as much as I'm impressed with Mascherano's guts in this moment as a young coach who doesn't have a lot of experience to do the tough things, I'm equally disappointed with the underperformance of key FC Cincinnati players, none more so than Evander, and specifically for me, my player to watch from the previews, Brenaire. We talked about Brenaire being this player to watch in the match after his heroics in Hell is Real, and my goodness, was this maybe the worst game I've ever seen him play. I think I watched three different times where he just tripped over the ball, received it at his feet, tried to turn, and just fell over or kicked it backwards. I mean, generationally bad stuff. And we talked about it. He needs to step up. Kevin Denke, ghost, right? Evander hasn't had a goal or an assist all playoffs. 3 games against Columbus and then Miami, no goal contributions. I mean, in the biggest moments, their best players disappeared. You just can't do it. You cannot do stuff like that. So super disappointed in FCC's ability to show up, really.
Yeah. Evander lost the ball 17 times, it says, that game. And I
Yeah,
felt like,
that tracks based off of the eye test.
yeah, and I felt like there were two moments that I remember that kind of like summed up his game there. There was one where he lost the ball in the midfield and then got upset and started jogging back. Meanwhile, Miami counterattacked and Allende scored immediately. I understand that he wasn't going to be able to full sprint back and contribute in that case, but I just felt like it was definitely not a good look. And then there was another moment late in the game where it felt like FCC maybe was getting a little something going for this one attack, and then he just takes a very, very mediocre shot from way outside. Again, talking about the shot map, as you mentioned, poor shots from outside the box. It just completely killed the whole attack. But yeah, I mean, I think the attack across the board for FCC was very poor that game. They were not great.
Yeah, no, it's very fair, and I guess we'll round off this section with a revisit of a comment that we made at the end of the preview was Pat Noonan might have been coaching for his job that day, and he put out a performance like that. Do you think FCC needs to move on? What's the deal with him?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the team still performed well throughout the entire season. Granted, I don't think they were very convincing this year. It wasn't a situation like we talked about round one for them against Columbus, and we were like, yeah, they won, but they were not very convincing in the way that they won, right? And then they come at next game at home and get torched by Miami. Now, granted, maybe that's not an uncommon occurrence. Maybe Miami is just on a roll right now and will torch anybody. But it was definitely not a great look for him. That being said, I think if it were me, I'd probably give him some time into next season at least. And if you're still not performing well, then I think you start to have the tougher question of do we need to move on at this point? Or are we just going to stick this out? And I would think if you go into next season, you're struggling, you probably move on. But I wouldn't move on from him right now.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. I think you give him you give him the off season, invest a little bit more into what he needs because you're probably going to lose players and you know that you have gaps that you haven't filled. He got you a very good finish in the table, right? He was in the Supporter Shield race for quite a while, um, right up until the last few weeks, if I remember correctly. And if he comes back and FCC look like duty in the first month of the year, then you're talking about okay, maybe we make a decision here. But I would say right now the seats may be a little warmer, but I wouldn't say it's anything near scalding hot. So,
Yeah.
all right, well then we move on to the other game in the East. Philly versus New York City in what I am calling miraculously, I know, the upset of the tournament because only one team got an upset last in the first round. And now this is the biggest one yet. Sorry, not the biggest one. But a New York City team with 17-year-old Johnny Shore and Kevin O'Toole starting in midfield showed the door to Philly, beating them 1-0 in the conference semifinals. Once again, energy drink soccer falls short in big moments, and New York City's hero, Maxi Morales, finds a way at the ripe old age of 107 to keep producing playoff magic. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but the dude just shows up when it matters most. A brilliant piece of combination play leading to the goal. Then they locked it up. Thanks to two huge Matt Freese saves to win you the match. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely some big credit here for Pascal Janssen. I think he played this game very well to what NYC had available to them. We talked, and had Alonso Martinez been healthy, I think this is a situation where I would still probably favorite Philly. But if you told me NYCFC gets the upset, I wouldn't have been terribly surprised. Without Alonso Martinez and they still get the upset, okay, yeah, no, now I'm definitely surprised. And I think it was a credit to how well he organized these guys out there. And obviously a big credit as well to Matt Freese. I think if he's not the one in goal, and I don't mean to pick on him, right? But I think if NYCFC still has Luis Barraza in there, they're probably not winning this game.
If NYCFC had Luis Barraza in goal, they're not here.
Also a fair
They're
point.
they're
Very
probably
fair
not in
point.
the playoffs. I mean, think of single-handedly the number of games Matt Freese kept them in, right? Um, yeah,
Well, if only there was a number for
oh my
that.
gosh, yeah, I wonder. No, again, I tweeted at the end of the match, and it just Pascal Janssen continues to really impress me as a coach, not just from his tactical setup, right? I don't think it's necessarily difficult, and I'm going to use my words wisely here. I don't think it's necessarily difficult to set up a team in a low block counterattack system. The difficulty of that system is getting them all to buy in and to commit to doing that for 90 minutes multiple times in a row. And you can see it. I mean, and I'm going to point out Raul Gustavo, their new center back signing, who was a man possessed on Sunday night. I forgot all the playoffs are messed up because we need to throw a game on Monday night at 10 o'clock. Raul Gustavo was a man possessed. And, defenders, they have to be a little weird like that, where they just love to win a tackle and love to block a shot and whatever. But this guy was on another level of just, I'm going to give everything in my life to win this game. And I think Johnny Shore put in a really good shift. Justin Hack put in a really good shift. We talked about Matt Freese already. Kevin O'Toole playing center mid, huge, right? Absolutely massive. And then you look at the quality, and this works because you have such quality going forward, right? You look at guys like Hannes Wolf, you look at guys like Nico Fernandez, who looks to be a great signing in this New York City team, creating so much in transition, looked really, really good. And then, of course, Max Morales with the amount of class that he has. But the fact that each and every one of them looked at the manager and said, "Yes, boss, let's do it," and are able to turn it into results is huge. It's such a good nod to Pascal Janssen and what he's been able to do in this group. And I keep coming back to this because I remember specifically in our previews me saying I'm not sure he's going to be able to be up for the task. And in the first 10 weeks of the season, he wasn't, right? They were not a good team in the beginning of the season, but he found a way to come out of it, turn it into a really good season, and now get them into a conference finals for the first time since 22, I believe.
Mhm.
22. So just such a really, really good effort and cohesion for this coach. Really well done.
I mean, and you probably don't want to hear this, but NYCFC have done a really good job of getting the right people to buy into the culture because
Hmm.
when they need to and they need to buy in when it comes to the playoffs, they've done super well with that, especially as of late. Like they just, I feel like they are a team that constantly finds ways to win games that on paper they just should not be winning when it comes to the playoffs. It's been a rotation of coaches too, which is why I compliment the system as opposed to, oh, this is a particular coach that's getting the results out of these guys because it's been different people and they still seem to find ways to win games in the playoffs, and this is no different. You know, they're just really good at making the most of their chances and then sticking to a format that works and is able to counter against the teams that they come up against. And it showed exactly in this game against Philly. They played it out pretty much exactly as I would imagine if you were to tell me NYC was going to win this game.
Yeah, yeah, and let's switch gears then and focus on Philly a little bit, right? We talked about the energy drink soccer and how in the biggest moments it usually falls short. And the reason it falls short is because you're relying on and again, this is from my experience of watching it is energy drink soccer works really well long term, right? You're generating a high number of chances with a high, I guess the term is like frequency of success, right? Where you have more chances to get success. So the total number of success is good. But there are always moments where it doesn't work out. Now, over the course of 34 games, no problem. You have one of those bad off days. It doesn't hurt you in your race for the shield or first place or third place or whatever. But in one-off matches like this, if you can't figure it out, that's what happens is you end up losing these 1-0. And I think another one that I tweeted was like, oh, this is going to be Philly having 45 shots and losing 1-0, isn't it? And that's what happened. They pressured and pressured and pressured, and they couldn't find a way because it was one of those nights. And because it was one of those nights, they lost the game. And again, you always come up to against two things. Two things always beat energy drink soccer. It is inconsistent in front of goal. So you had in the first half Ty Baribo missing the sitter on the service from Nathan Harriel, I believe it was, where all he has to do is tap it past Freeze and you put it wide. And then you have the second half of why energy drink soccer doesn't work, and it is goalkeepers stepping up and being heroes, right? Today was Matt Freese, and I'm going to use Red Bull as the example, but when it's Red Bull, it's Brad Guzan, it's Sean Johnson, it's Bill Hamid at DC United, like guys who just wake up one day are like, I'm going to beat you because you're not going to beat me. And that's what they came up against today. And in 90 minutes, you can't do that, right? And they didn't have a plan B, and it hurt them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Philly has such a good, well-rounded, full unit, but it felt like they were really missing that kind of star guy to step up in this moment and get them results when the other team is kind of just like being more defensive, packing it in more. Like what Sun Hyun-min did for LAFC, right? Like he came in, scored them 2 goals. The way that Messi does for and obviously they're not going to be able to just go pull a Son or a Messi and bring them into their team, right? But just that type of player for them to be able to step up and get that done because when I look at the team, like there's good players all over the place, but I really just don't feel that type of player for them. And I felt like it hurt them in a situation like this in the playoffs where You just need someone with that just oozes quality to step in and step up in a moment like this.
Yeah, and again, you think back to their biggest names, right? First off, Quinn Sullivan being hurt them, right? Having him around would have made a difference. Miko Ure came on and was average, right? He's your designated player. You can't have players like that falling short. And they did. But again, there's no excuses like, oh, we didn't have Quinn Sullivan. They didn't have a midfield, guys. Like, there's no excuses for this. They had no midfield. Their back line was thin. They really didn't have any depth. So then they mentioned it when Philly was down in the 60th minute. They'd already made 4 of their 5 subs. New York City didn't make a change until 75 minutes, I think it was, because they
Mhm.
had nobody to put in. They were like, okay, we gotta wait and see and figure out what we gotta do. But yeah, it was again, it was a really, really well coached and a team that believes in what their coach is telling them, which is
Yeah,
really, really impressive.
I actually have a question for you in this one.
Oh
I know,
gosh.
flipping the script.
Oh gosh.
But this is now the second time that we've seen Bradley Carnell have significant success in the regular season and do well in the Supporter Shield race, and then come in the playoffs and not be able to get it done. Are we seeing a trend with him, you think, or is this kind of just it happens to just be two circumstances, like just
Well,
coincidence?
we'll find out, won't we? Because what happened in the second season at Philly after he lost in the first round?
Yeah,
He stunk, right?
yeah.
And I think people were saying that, man, Philly's going to be real average next year because people are going to figure out how they work. They're going to have players that aren't going to do the job, right? If Baribo doesn't come back, I think Ure's already pretty much out the door. Sullivan, depending on how his rehab goes, and what comes of that. If Andre Blake sticks around, first off, by the way, Andre Blake talking about Matt Freeze, that Andre Blake recovery save from the half field
That
chance from
was nuts.
Fernandez.
But I think that's what injured him.
It did. That's what caused him to come out. But again, putting his body on the line. But that's why he's a 3-time goalkeeper of the year, man. I mean, that's just that's training ground stuff where you're just like, oh, I bet I could beat you from here, blah blah blah, and you're like, nope. Just so fun to watch. But all right, and let's go ahead then and just get into this final. Connor, did you do a quick change in between segments? That's not what you were wearing in the last one. How'd you do that?
What do I gotta go find my clothes from last night?
Listen, I haven't changed. Look, I'm ready to go.
You haven't changed? Take this man to the laundromat, please.
Wow, look at that, breaking the fourth wall. Yes, we have to record this on a separate day because none of us were staying up until 12 o'clock on a Monday, on a work day, to watch this game, unfortunately. But it's San Diego and Minnesota time, just based off of the stats and some of the things I was reading. So, again, apologies, Minnesota, San Diego fans. We're not going to get that in depth with this game. Play at a normal time. Sorry. Um, Insanely, San Diego FC wins 1-0 with a single shot on target. That being said, that's kind of the way Minnesota plays the game, right? And that's how they usually play the game. They're very defensive. They give up the ball. I mean, if you watch and again, we talked about the highlights on this one. If you watch the highlights, Minnesota, and this is how they play every game, kick the ball off and instantly kick it into the corner and give away possession. They're like, we don't want the ball. Genuinely, they just kick it away. And I'm like, all right, that's anti-football nonsense, but we move. Minnesota concede possession, but had a couple of really decent chances throughout the night. Couldn't hit the frame on a couple of them. A couple of them were easy saves for the goalkeeper Cisnega because CJ Dos Santos is out injured. San Diego FC also created general chances, but it took them until the 72nd minute to actually break them down. And what a brilliant goal this was. Ball gets chipped in over the top. Corey Baird, of all players, running in behind. A magical back heel flick into the path of Andres Dreyer, who takes a touch and rifles this past Dane St. Clair for the 1-0 lead. And they hold on for some really, really fantastic results. They now join the Chicago Fire in 1998 as the only expansion team to make the conference finals in their first year. Connor, your thoughts?
I actually felt like Minnesota looked like they were getting the better chances throughout the game. I know they, as you mentioned, they were not playing for the possession, and that showed hugely because they had 28% possession. But they kind of played their game well. They just didn't have the finishing touch that they needed. Like you kind of, I really imagine like if they had someone like Emmanuel Reynoso in their prime, is that enough to have taken Minnesota that little bit further to have gotten past San Diego and into the conference finals? I wouldn't say that's a far reach at all. Obviously, we know Kelvin Yeboah is a strong attacker. It just seemed like, not his best game. Same thing with Robin Lod. I feel like he had a couple of chances, he just couldn't put it away. Had they kept Tani, this might have been another story for Minnesota here. I mean, he was a very clinical finisher for them, and I think would have helped them immensely in a game like this where they were getting a few chances, just not being able to put them away. I mean, on SofaScore, they had the XG advantage over San Diego, despite San Diego having 72% possession of the ball. So they played their game and they played it well. It just did not turn out to be their night, to be honest.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. And if you look at it, it came from two really important moments from San Diego defenders. The first one, Ian Pilcher, after Robin Lod gets in behind in transition, cuts back across Manu Dua, tries to tuck it into the bottom corner, beats Cisnega. Pilcher coming back off of the defensive line onto the goal line to clear it, literally millimeters away from crossing the line. Would have made it. I believe at that point it would have made it 1-0 to Minnesota, change the game completely. And then in a similar moment where ball gets played in behind, it's Cisnega off his line again, going one-on-one at the feet of the attacker, wins the ball and plays it out. Right, those are two huge moments in the game that if they go the other way, we're talking about a completely different story. Right, so San Diego, to their credit, similar to the New York City thing we were talking about before, has every single player bought in and is playing at their individual best. It's very, very impressive to see. And it is a credit to head coach Mikey Varas, right? To get this group of players, the majority of which are either draft picks or I'm going to use the air quotes discarded, but youth players like Luca Bombino, for example, who other teams just had no use for, that he has turned into a best 11 player. It's such a and again, then you look at the attacking group, right? You've got Corey. You're not even playing with Chucky Lozano at this point. You've got Amal Pellegrino. You've got Corey Baird starting, right? You've got Andres Dreyer. Like, it's insane the level of play that he's getting out of players that if you looked at this roster on day one and you're like, oh, they're cooked. There's no shot. But they always find a way. It's extremely impressive out of San Diego in their first year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all that is definitely true. That being said, in my opinion, they have not looked super convincing in this playoffs, and they look beatable 100%. Versus when you look at a team like Miami right now, you're like, I don't know how a team is going to be able to stop that. I look at San Diego and what they've done so far in the playoffs, and I'm like, I could definitely see Vancouver coming in and getting a win here.
Glaze harder, bro. Glaze harder.
I'm not,
Do you have to
I'm
bring in
not trying to
Messi to
glaze.
every conversation?
I did not
Gosh.
even mention his name. You brought him up right now, not me.
Well, you said Miami, and Miami and Messi are synonymous at this point. So, um,
They kind of are.
yeah, and then looking back to Minnesota, right? Just to flip the script, right? You mentioned, oh, does having somebody like Reynoso change the game? I don't think so, right? You have players like Joaquin Pereira who are supposed to be carrying that team. You've got guys like Markanich and Hlongwane up the wings that have been contributing a ton. Robin Lod is still a fantastic attacking player, and they've put pieces around it. They were just unlucky on the night. I don't think that it was an individual level that they couldn't step to. It took a moment of brilliance out of Andres Dreyer, and it took two very unlucky moments in their attack to knock them out. That's just football sometimes. I don't think it's necessarily any one of those players' level wasn't good enough. I think that the other team was just a touch better in three moments, right? And again, only looking at the highlights here, maybe we're missing something bigger, and I will put my hand up and say that. But in three key moments, San Diego each time stepped up and won that challenge, and that's the game, right? You have to win your individual battles, and if you don't, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't necessarily, I think that's a good point. I don't think it was necessarily an issue of chance creation. It was more of an issue of chance finishing.
Yeah,
Um, which is where I think the argument of if Tani was here, it would make more of a difference. Maybe Reynoso is a bad example, but
sure.
someone a little bit more clinical. Obviously, your Bo has been that guy for them for a while, but he just happened to not be on the night. But if that's going to be the case, then somebody else needs to be able to step in and help him out if he is having an off night. And unfortunately, there really wasn't anybody else on the field who could do that for them.
Yeah, this isn't a case of like FC Cincinnati where, oh man, they were terrible and five different players were at their worst. Like Minnesota didn't have maybe but one individual not play at a level where they needed to play, and that's just the reality of it, right? And I think they're positioned to come back and be even better next year, but um, it's San Diego who's going to move on. All right, well then, why don't we get to predictions? We'll start in the East. It's Miami hosting New York City. That's right. New York City has to travel, so Miami goes back home. We've already talked about it a little bit, where Mascherano made a really good decision not to start Luis Suarez. Making that decision again is going to be very important to take on this New York City side. New York City will get Aiden O'Neal back, so they'll have a little bit more depth in the center of midfield, but not a ton. It's going to have to be a Matt Freese wonder show if they're going to try to keep a chance, very Brad Guzan-esque, if you will. And they're going to have to be very, very good in transition if they want to. And I think they'll get a lot of chances in transition, to be fair, against this Miami team who is not very quick in the back, right? So what do we expect to see? I'll send it over to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go into more details, but if I'm going to keep it short and sweet here, I don't see how this NYCFC team is going to be able to stop Messi. He is just on a roll of a completely different level, um, way above, I think, what he was performing at when Atlanta beat them last year. And I just don't see how NYCFC, who's already kind of down and injured and banged up, is going to be able to do it. I mean, Janssen's going to have to pull off a masterclass if it's going to happen. Either that or Mascherano has to just mess up royally. But I don't think that's like I genuinely I think if they even start Suarez, Messi is just in the most ridiculous form right now that I don't think anybody can stop him, regardless of if it's Suarez or Silvetti that is playing in the attack for them. So, long story short, I think Messi and Miami are just too much to handle right now, and I think they're going to beat NYC.
I really got to pick between the villain of MLS and the arch rival of Red Bull.
The
This
villain of
isn't
your heart.
Yeah, this isn't fair. I don't like this because there is a world I can see New York City winning this game. And
That's
it is,
crazy.
and it genuinely, it is pack the box, force Messi to beat you with something magic, which he probably could, but don't let anybody get in behind you, right? As soon as you get the ball, give it back, drop into the lowest block you can physically imagine, condense everything, don't let them play through the lines, prevent any wide service, right? The cutbacks to Messi are what kill most teams, right? Don't let wide service come in. Just keep it condensed, keep it compact, and as soon as you get the ball, find Fernandez in transition and nick a goal and back it up again. And there is a world where I believe that works. The problem is the second they come out of that shell, and I mean the millisecond they come out of that shell, Messi's going to pick them apart. And you know, the other thing that has me, kind of leaning their way is Freese. I think would be up for that battle, that chance.
I feel like you're trying to talk yourself into saying NYC, but I think you know what the answer is.
Oh man, I
They're
am.
at home too. As much as NYC has been solid on the road, like Miami's at home also.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Listen, at least you get to say NYCFC lose. It's
Can I
not
can I can I vote for the Meteor? Can they both lose? Is
you
that a
cannot vote
thing?
for the Meteor.
um,
If you're
I
between
either have to sit here with a Red Bull signed picture behind me and say New York City pull off the miracle and knock away Messi and prevent him from, keep the meme alive that he can't win in big moments, or I have to pick, I have to be the homer and be like, oh yeah, Messi's gonna win, easy peasy.
listen, if you're stuck between two because you hate both of them, I think that just means you have to pick with your brain instead of your heart.
And I don't have a brain. That's a problem. My brain tells
You
me
do
that
have a brain.
my my brain is telling
You
my
went
brain's
on this
telling me I
whole
know how to.
spiel at the start of the show about how much ball you know, and now all of a sudden you don't have a brain?
My brain is telling me I know how to beat this team, and I think Pascal Janssen can do it.
I think you're out of your mind if you think you know how to beat this team. I don't think there's any game plan you could come up with if Messi just decides, all right, I'm deciding we're gonna win.
All right. I'm gonna take Miami But I want to preface this by saying that if they do the what I've told them to do, New York City have a fighting chance. That's what I want
Okay.
to. That's what I want to put out there.
I
So
mean, I'm
when we
sure
come,
they're going to try that, right? Like, I don't think that's got
any
to be the mindset going in.
let me put it this way: anybody who decides to play expansive against Inter Miami is signing their own death warrant. I mean, what do you think is gonna? How many games do you need to watch where they beat you in transition because you try and play through them? You make a mistake in their own attacking third. Messi's sitting between the lines because everybody's forgotten he exists for 24 seconds. He picks a ball up and in 2 touches you've been scored on. If you try and play expansive, you are signing your own death warrant. You can't attack with more than four. You have to sit two center mids in front of your back four, and you need to play, or you need to not play. You need to play anti-football. That's how you beat the team. I'll take
That's
Miami.
Don't support anti-football.
I'll take Miami, but I will tell you that if New York City were to win this game based off of my game plan that I've just put out there, I want credit for it and I want royalties. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, make sure you give them your address so they know where to send it to.
That's right. I'll just show up at the front door. I know somebody who works there, so.
This guy's
Uh,
got connections now. He thinks he's above the pod.
all right, and let's finish up these predictions with the Western Conference. We got San Diego hosting Vancouver, the number one seed, and Vancouver's number two, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, one versus two in the West, just as you like it.
Boring.
Yeah, just as you like it. It's gonna be really, really interesting. You've got Vancouver coming off of that huge 9 versus 11 defending moment versus LAFC, winning in penalties, have all this momentum. Now they will be missing Tristan Blackman with that red card, so they will have to figure out their back line again. And again, if you think about Vancouver's whole situation, Halbuni also being down now with their with the ACL injury, not great, right? So you're looking at Ralph Priso again, holding strong in there. And then what comes next, they're going to have to be clever about it, right? Maybe Laborda goes inside and you play, a different player out there, but that back line is going to be different. However, they will probably knock on a bunch of pieces of wood here, get a full run out of Brian White. They'll probably be able to utilize Ryan Gauld for a little bit longer now that they got a little bit of fitness underneath their belt. It's going to be a matter of where do you fit him in. And that'll be a very interesting coaching moment. And as we spoke about with San Diego, it is a group that is playing individually all at their highest level and as a group at very, very high levels. So a very, very exciting moment here. Connor, what are you thinking?
This is a really tough one. I feel like full strength, I wouldn't have as much of an issue. I think I would lean towards Vancouver. I think they have more talent on paper, and the way that Sorensen has them set up and playing, they've bought in just as much as you could talk about San Diego's team buying in. But there are factors that swing in the direction of San Diego that kind of even things out a bit more. As you talked about, the center back room is just absolute makeshift right now, just bandages wherever you can find bandages. And then the fact that San Diego gets to play the game at home, I think is going to be an advantage for them as well. So I was definitely heavily leaning towards Vancouver originally. I like with Thomas Mueller and, a full game from Ryan Gauld or more game from Ryan Gauld. Brian White can bring to the table. I think the midfield is fantastic for Vancouver and honestly very underrated. I know the focus is on Thomas Mueller, but Berhalter and Kubas, I think, are a great midfield combo for them. And I think that's going to be I think that could be the toughest part for San Diego to deal with here, but I'm kind of leaning toward going towards San Diego here. As much as I think Vancouver's got the talent, I think the center back issues is going to be it's going to be an issue for Vancouver in this one. And I think having that home field advantage with all the fans behind you as you're looking to go to MLS Cup in your first ever season, I think the fans are going to be rowdy. They're going to be excited. I think it's going to be that little bit of extra motivation for them. I think it's going to be another really close one for San Diego, but I think they're going to squeeze by, whether that's in penalties or if it's like a one goal game if they can beat them out in regular time. But it's going to be close, in my opinion.
Interesting. I was talking with a friend about this today at work, and
That's a lie. You don't have any friends.
All right, very funny. Take my joke. Again, very unoriginal. You have to, piggyback off
Well, they
off
don't
the
they don't hear
greats.
that one. You do that one offline. I'm bringing it online. So as far as they know, it's my joke.
Oh man. To me, I like Vancouver. I like San Diego. I was actually leaning San Diego first for a lot of the reasons you were pointing out. I think they're all playing at good levels, and the thing that I think this is going to be more of a shootout than their last game was against Minnesota, because I think Vancouver is going to be a bit more expansive. They're going to try and play, and San Diego are going to also be expansive and try to play. So you're going to have lots of gaps for players like Ali Ahmed, Brian White, Thomas Mueller, and then even Seb Berhalter on free kicks. And then you go to the other side, right? You got Andres Dreyer running in behind, Pellegrino, Corey Baird. Like, I think those levels are going to be really, really fun to watch. It's going to be a great Western Conference final. My bracket has been nothing but busted. I'm 1 out of 3 for this round. Um, so I don't have to stick with anything that I had here. I think I'm leaning Vancouver here. I know the back line is going to be sketchy, but I think that they will have the attacking power to make up for it. I also love Andres Kubas as just put him in front of any of those center backs as long as you're not in transition and they're not getting by him. He was fantastic against LAFC. Seth Berhalter comboed him really, really well. Uh, Ralph Priso has been very good, like way better than I thought he would have been. Again, I don't know who center back two is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Laborda inside, and then they're looking at maybe a wing back scenario of some sort. I don't really know. However, for some reason, I thought San Diego's run was going to end yesterday. It didn't, but I wouldn't be shocked if it ends today at the hands of Vancouver. Also, based off of our other predictions, Mueller versus Miami is marketing gold, baby. So, think again, we got to go back to it. Think of those just brilliant graphics that they're going to be able to post, right? Messi and Mueller looking at each other all angry, being able to push that out to everybody. It's going to be cinema. So, as much as we love to say, oh man, like watch out, you might see somebody like Manu Dua get a sketchy red card for a dog show that had one or two players maybe behind the ball, maybe not. You never know. In the fourth minute of the game, who knows? So, um, I'm going to go Vancouver here. Also, just be a little bit different. I got tired of doing the whole us together thing. Um, so I'll take Vancouver here. You can have San Diego, and it is regardless, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm
All
glad we're
right.
different too. It'll be more exciting, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always more fun, And if you actually turn on the game this week, you might actually really enjoy the match. So I hope you get to do that.
Well, I hope they don't put it on Monday at 10 p.m. and maybe there's a chance.
Yeah, tell me about it. Let's just take a quick look at when this is going to be. The games are Saturday at 6 and 9 p.m. Perfect.
That's more reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. And then MLS Cup is Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Ugh.
Saturday at 2:30.
Saturday at 2:30. You have
Ouch.
this isn't like you're stuck on cable TV. This is another conversation completely, but are we kidding? 2:30? I'm gonna end up having to see I might miss that game because I'm coaching. That sucks. Anyways, let's go back to our final segment of the day. We asked you guys a question of the week last week, and it's time that we share it with you. The calendar switch was confirmed. We gave our thoughts, but we had to reach out to our fans and our listeners and say, how do you feel about it? I gave them 3 options, not 4. I love it, I hate it, and I need to see it in action before I get a feeling. We got 42 votes on this between Twitter and YouTube. Only one of them said that they hate it, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it'd be a lot more split than that. We had 16 votes on Twitter, and as I'm doing the quick math here, 7 votes on YouTube that said they love it. Just no notes, the best thing that they can see. Then you had 8 votes on YouTube and 10 votes on Twitter saying that they needed to see it in action first. So 18 and then a couple less for just pure love it. Didn't get any comments about why, so can't shout anybody out. But make sure that if you are going to comment on our next post of the week, which we've already answered, by the way, it is, and I'll give a spoiler. You can go check it out as well. But what's the MLS Cup matchup going to be? There are only four options: Vancouver, Miami, San Diego, Miami, Vancouver, New York City, San Diego, New York City, and we've already got 15 votes. I posted it an hour ago. So get on there, vote your heart. Um, I'll give you a teaser. As of right now, Vancouver, New York City is winning.
That's
Nice.
crazy.
I love it. I love that our fans are just a little Coco Loco. That is really cool. And I'm just quick refresh. Yeah, nothing changing, but it's up there for 5 days. So make sure you go follow us on Twitter and on YouTube to interact with that. You can vote twice. Skew the result in your favor. We'll never know. Go on there and do it on both sides. Make sure you're following us wherever you get your podcasts as well, so you know when our MLS Cup preview goes live. And follow us on social media, like we said, so you can interact with us there. But thanks so much for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players and MLS Podcast. See ya.